Hello and welcome to another episode of the Full Force News Burst, brought to you by GeneralsJoes.com with me as your host, Chris Inaction Man McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80. Joining me to discuss the recent Action Man product reveal from UK Toy Fair is Patrick. Why the hell are you calling me at work? Don't you realise just how busy I am? This better not take very long due to the huge amount of stuff I have to get finished before Friday, and then not to mention the fact that I have to do that bloody articulated point show as well, Stewart.
Oh yeah, that was good.
So without further ado, let's get stuck into this news burst. Earlier today, we were made aware of an image posted to Midco Toys /Toy Planet's Facebook page that seemed to show a brand new product layout for Action Man at the recent UK Toy Fair. The image had slipped under the radar for a few days, but once it was found, we posted the news to our page and received a rather mixed response from our listeners /viewers. It would appear that there is no other information at hand currently, so the image was probably taken secretly, and the intention of the companies involved would probably be to release more info at a later date. From what we understand, however, it looks as though it has been licensed out, but we don't know whether it is the previous company that had the license, Art and Science International Limited, or a completely new company at this time. Either way, the product looks to have taken its cues from the 90s branding with the orange and black colouring, with a very similar logo, the main difference being a lightning bolt separating the A and M on the left side. It is also hard to say whether the product is final or they are production samples at various stages of completion. Either way, it's very cool to see Action Man return, and we hope we can get more info in the coming weeks to help fill some gaps. Joining me tonight to discuss this news is show regular Pat Stewart. So Pat, what are your thoughts about this overall?
Well, it's definitely a good sign, in my opinion. You mentioned the logo had changed, and I find that interesting, because if you're going to be licensing something out, are you going to let a licensee change your logo? Probably not. So there's probably some level of involvement from Hasbro, to some extent. So I wonder what their intentions were of even licensing this out to begin with. If it is licensed, it does seem to be the case.
Yeah, no, totally. I was also going to say as well, a few assumptions can be made here, but the branding is so close to the 90s, it makes me wonder if, just as we've had all those different other iterations of Action Man kind of re-released as a kind of nostalgia kind of situation, I wonder if the same thing is happening here for the 90s branding. Is that too obvious? Because it feels like if you're going to be doing Action Man again, you either want to change it up, but the 90s branding probably isn't the most, I don't know, without putting it, because I love it as well, but it seems a little dated right now, doesn't it?
I guess so, but I mean, that may be the age bracket for collectors that, the kids growing up in the 90s definitely have adult money to spend on things. So I could definitely see them, trying to target that market and to see how things would react differently from the two different versions of Action Man coming out, having already done the reissue of the old one and now doing the 90s one.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense from that point of view to definitely, if you're going to be reissuing it, rather than doing the same thing that we've already had reissued a number of times to kind of go to the 90s well. It's nice to see that orange and black again, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like these are just straight up reissues of anything either. There seems to be a lot of new stuff in there. I can't tell if there's a new head sculpt or not from the pictures, but I'm definitely eager to see more. And I would guess that these are prototypes of some sort, because most of the things in there, it's like every single figure was shown at least 3 times. They're on the wall in the package, they're on the wall out of the package, and then they're in that little dio in the center. And it doesn't seem like as well as in like the store display. So it doesn't seem like they actually had a lot of figures and product to go around to actually put a lot of finished stuff out there, which would make me think that these are samples. So I'm really curious to see what they look like whenever we see them up close and finished.
Yeah, so just to kind of go over that as well, and I'll be flashing images up on the screen too, as always. We've got 4 kind of Action Man base figures here, haven't we? We've got some sort of like snowboarding, snow gear type Action Man. We have a kind of like topless and just shorts kind of adventure Action Man type setup as well. We've got an underwater kind of like almost casual wetsuit Action Man, and then we've got the more kind of, I don't know, tactical gear Action Man. So there are 4 different types of action men going on here. We've also got 3 different vehicles and 2 small ones. One's the ATV and one's like a small kind of dinghy speedboat type thing, and a bigger helicopter. Now the helicopter, We've had a few people, Walter McLeod, shout out to Walter, and Dustin Hubbard. They mentioned that the World Peacekeepers helicopter is basically an exact version of this one. So there's like a bit of tooling reuse here. Does that give us, because that's a World Peacekeepers product, does that give us possibly a licensee clue or a license clue here?
Yeah, that's news to me. I didn't know that that was the case. That would be really strange for them to have borrowed tooling from something else unless it's a really just straight up mock-up using somebody else's product, because we've seen that before too, whenever somebody's going to produce something similar. We really don't see that too much in the current day and age whenever this stuff ends up online really quickly. So I would think that that does indicate who the licensee is.
I mean, I could imagine them being excited to get the product news out there at, say, UK Toy Fair, which we've just had. But at the same time, you'd want to put your final product out there, wouldn't you? Like, I mean, from a personal perspective, in, like you say, this day and age where everything is scrutinized, pictures are taken, close-ups are taken, multiple images, people are like ravenous for this information. So if you're not putting the best possible product out there, then it's probably not the best start for your particular product reveal. I'm not sure whether UK Toy Fair, because this appears to be like not secret. I don't want to say it's really underhanded, but I don't think they're allowed to take pictures at Toy Fair unless they're, like licensed to do so, or like licensed, if they're like allowed to do so for the Toy Fair brand. So I'm not 100% sure if what we're seeing here isn't just getting eyes on for retailers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. They may just have that stuff on display in order to see who will buy into it, to try to get somebody to buy it. We may not end up seeing it at all if nobody does.
That's a good point, and a very sad one as well.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think we're talking about in terms of articulation here? Because you mentioned that you thought there could be, or your instant reaction to me when we spoke earlier was that you were thinking 5 points of articulation, and I'm kind of thinking it might be that skin-covered style that we saw in the Hall of Fame figures. I mean, what are your thoughts looking at them again?
It's really the shoulders that I'm looking at. There's not very many figures on display that are loose, but the ones that are, the shoulders seem to be in the exact same position, or at least the same distance from the torso, which makes me think that we're getting that simple pivot at the shoulders, because there were several different bodies for Action Man released. The Hall of Fame figures were, with the skin over them, actually weren't quite as articulated as some of the Action Man figures that came later. Action Man seemed to take that design and really improve upon it. So it's almost a shame that these seem like they are some of the less articulated, lower cost price point figures that were released in the 90s run. That's at least what it looks like to me.
No, it's true. I mean, there are two figures I'm looking at in particular in terms of articulation. One is the diver. So you can see some movement in arms and legs, but again, you're right. It just seems to be at the shoulder point, and it just seems to be in one direction, not the band. And everyone else is just very basically standing upright. The other one I was looking at was the guy on the ATV. So obviously they can get in seated positions. Again, like the knees are bending. So I'm thinking that it is a skin-covered articulation, and that we're just not seeing that exactly demonstrated on the arms. Again, like we'll probably, I'm sure, find out more information closer, in the next few weeks or so. But at the moment, yeah, I mean, if you're going to be putting your product out there, you're going to want to show it in all sorts of dynamic positions, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully we'll get some closer images or some official press releases that will show us something more about that articulation. Because you raise a good point about those knees. I really wasn't thinking about that. So yeah, I mean, I guess there may be more than 5 points.
So we've got vehicles, we've got figures 4, 3, and we've got what looks like I'm guessing some like different gear as well. The kind of usual, what you'd expect from an Action Man, kind of a line of figures. It looks as though this could be like a wave 1. It looks like this could be like a small wave 1 just to maybe, test the waters. We haven't had a lot of product, even in the re-release stuff. Do you expect this particular line? Do you expect it that it could do well with the adult collectors market, or do you think that maybe this might be one of those things that flies under the radar, much like, and let's say it, much like some of the previous re-releases actually have done?
Well, I actually think that, revisiting some of the lesser enjoyed segments of G.I. Joe and Action Man is a good idea, especially right now with there not being any presence for G.I. Joe at retail. So I think that vacuum is definitely going to be helping this. I don't think that it, I don't think that it quite is the full push for that 90s flair, certainly not without Dr. X. I know that I would love to see some of the other characters represented as well. You know, in all this time, we've only ever gotten, what is it, one 12-inch Natalie Poole
Yeah.
and one Nuck. There
Yeah.
there are other characters in the Action Man story that are good, but of course, if you only have 4 slots to put something in, they're all going to end up being Action Man. I think that it's a little, also maybe a little telling that it looks like one of the Action Man figures does not come with as many accessories as the others, so he's kind of like a basic figure.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be doing a lot of this online, I'm not really sure why you would need such an entry point figure, unless maybe they're hoping to get some of these in some shops.
Well, I'm thinking UK Toy Fair. I'm thinking this is going to be possibly close. You know, there's definitely, I would say, the audience in the UK and Europe for Action Man, more so than the US. But even so, and I know it's grown a bit in the US as well, especially with that void that G.I. Joe has kind of like opened up for all those other different things to be kind of collected now. But I get the feeling this is UK focused, much again like the last re-release was. So I would imagine them to actually sell possibly in Smith's and in all of the department stores in the UK. I could imagine, you know, Langley's, Toy Master, those kind of places as well selling this product. Hamley's too in London. So I think there's definitely retail space in the UK for this product. And it's definitely something I could see in Smith's, like 100%. Like if you're seeing World Peacekeepers stuff in Toy Master and those kind of places, then I can definitely see Action Man in that place as well.
Yeah, the only place I've really seen World Peacekeepers in the United States is in Big Lots, and there's a discount store called Rose's that actually had some of the larger ones as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't for a second really think that this is meant for the U.S. market, but I don't think that that's going to stop G.I. Joe collectors, you know, if they are inclined at all to seek out those other little, well, not little, but 4 figures certainly is little.
Yeah.
You know, the other things that they've skipped, I should say, of G.I. Joe and its history. I think that, you know, with G.I. Joe in the States kind of being gone, I think that what we have is we have some people that have kind of moved on.
Yeah.
And some others who are digging deeper and looking back at some of the stuff that they've missed. And Action Man, if it comes out and has a mention here and there on the websites every once in a while because somebody has licensed it, that could definitely help gain its popularity overseas, which would be here compared to where it is.
Awesome. Okay, well, Pat, thank you, mate, so much for jumping on and having a quick chat about the Action Man news. Really appreciate you doing that at the last minute.
Oh, thanks for having me on again.
Not a problem. We'll be speaking to you again for GoBots hopefully very soon. So once again, thank you. That's it for this instalment of the Full Force News Burst. Thank you to my wonderful co-host Patrick Stewart, not Picard. See you next time, and as always, full man. Because, you know, Action Man.
Right, that doesn't say force, so it's man.
Full man. Action Force. No, that's actually Action Force. Okay, thank you.
Yo, man.
That's actually better. That's better than Action. No, that was literally Action Force. That's better than Full Man, isn't it, really?
I don't know. I don't really know how to take it. It just come across as your man or hey man. I don't know.
This is all staying in. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/TheFullForce, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of these platforms with feedback, questions or to say, who do you think you are? A serious operation now? No, not even close. Look out for more of these news bursts that we are posting on the Facebook page from now on. Full Force.